Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. The date is the 15th, the month is December, and the year is 2025. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Sinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Taping this mere minutes after the Detroit Lions lost to the Los Angeles Rams. Still on the outside looking in at the playoffs. I mean, if they had won that game, they wouldn't have been on the outside looking in. They would have been in complete control of their own destiny. And as long as they won the rest of their games, it didn't matter. And they wouldn't have had to rely on anybody else, any outside help to get into the playoffs. Now they do. Now we are rooting against the Bears. Which we always kind of were. But they got a couple tough games left to play. And the best case scenario, I believe, at this point for the Lions' playoff chances, I believe the best case scenario right now is Week 18 turns into a mini playoff game. And Week 18 in Soldier Field against the Bears, which at that point, if it becomes whoever wins this game goes to the playoffs, invariably it will be flexed into Sunday Night Football. And then, which is hard for me because I tape these games on Sunday night. I tape these shows on Sunday nights. And when the Lions play on Sunday night, it's a huge racket for me because then I'm just up so late. You know, a lot of the time I end up just saying, I'm just going to record on Monday. Because even if things go well, it just ends way too late. Now, if the Lions season ends on Sunday Night Football with a loss to the Chicago Bears, a game that if they otherwise would have won, they'd be in the playoffs, I think I will have no choice but to tape a show. So I will hold myself to that. But it is not a given that the Lions get there. They got to get through. So who is it left on the schedule? I believe it's Pittsburgh. And then on a short week, it's the Vikings on Christmas Day. So annoyed that we're playing on Christmas. And the fact that the NFL has games on Christmas, hate it. Really, really hate it. Streamed on Netflix. Very cool. The Lions will be wearing all black on Thanksgiving. I'm sorry. Well, I say on Thanksgiving. I meant on Christmas. But that leads me to what I was about to say. Which is, okay, so the Lions have to play on Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. These guys don't get one holiday with their family during the season. They don't get one for real. That sucks. That stinks. You know, as a fan, it seems like something that I should otherwise be excited about. Thanksgiving is, Lions football on Thanksgiving, I believe is institutional, or rather, an institution of the NFL and foundational to its history. Both the Lions and the Cowboys playing on Thanksgiving. I think if that is ever stripped from either of those teams, it is a dark cloud hanging over the NFL. Both of these two teams need to play on Thanksgiving for the rest of forever, even if the Lions lose every single year and ruin Thanksgiving my entire fucking life. That's how it goes. But don't take it away from me, you know. You would think that I would otherwise be excited that, you know, I also get to watch my team play on Christmas. I'm not. I'm really not. It's not the most fun thing in the world to watch your team lose on so many holidays. On all of the holidays, all of them. I have to watch my favorite team, all of them. Thanksgiving, loss. Christmas, loss. You know, the Pistons didn't get an NBA game on Christmas this year. I would expect that to change next year. You know, they got to prove it in the playoffs. They got to win a series, which I think we all expect is certainly going to be the case this year, especially with how the start that they've gotten off to. They didn't get a Christmas Day game this year. People were originally upset about that. I didn't think they had earned it yet, but this year they can earn it. And next year we can be really mad if they don't. Got to watch the Lions lose on Christmas this year. I don't think they will, to be fair. I don't think they will. Minnesota at this point. The Sunday Night Football, as I'm taping this, Minnesota and Dallas. So two teams whose seasons are effectively over. I mean, Minnesota is actually over. Dallas is like pretend alive. They're pretend alive right now. They're fake alive. Okay, that's the primetime game this week. Okay, we can't do any flexing. We're not at that point in the season yet where we can start to do flexing. Okay, all right. Got it. The Lions got to take care of business the rest of the way. And I think they will against Pittsburgh. I think they will against Minnesota. I think it's going to come down to that Chicago game. And again, we still need them to lose a game. And maybe we can start there. I guess maybe we can start there. Watch that Bears-Browns game today. Now, regular listeners of the show will know, I've talked about this all the time, you know, we live right by the stadium. It's very, very fun, honestly, you know, getting to watch Bears games when they're at home, especially because when they do the flyover, they always have these damn Apache helicopters or these, if you play Grand Theft Auto, it's the damn cargo bob. Usually it's just that, right? But they are, they fly right over our house, a minute and a half before they actually do on the TV. It's always really fun to watch that happen, especially sometimes, when it's the first game of the year and they do like a real flyover with the big boy Jets or something like that. They do it with the White Sox. They do it with Wrigley. And it is always when you're expecting it, at least when you're fucking expecting that shit to be flying around and occupying the airspace. When you're expecting it, it's fun, but for the few months that the city was occupied by customs agents and these ICE guys, it was not honestly so fun. That same airspace being occupied by federal aviation that would otherwise maybe it's just not supposed to be there. It's not supposed to be there, but it is there. It's there all the time. It's really hard to not notice that it's there. And when you track these flights, the amount of time that I've spent on Flight Radar this year alone, just looking at different helicopters and what the hell is that? What's over my house right now? What's this over here? What's this over here? A lot of the time it's just the news. A lot of the time recently it's been the state police, or rather not the state police, the sheriff's office. They've been flying over the freeways and looking for people who are like shoulder passers. They hop on the shoulders on the freeway and they go like 150 and they just pass everybody. First of all, if you're on Lakeshore or you're on 9, I don't need to do a whole thing about Chicago traffic. I'm getting way too off the rails here. I'm supposed to be talking about the damn Bears right now. Well, what's funny, I guess, is maybe my first note about that game isn't even about the Bears. It's about Shedeur Sanders. This was the first game that I actually got to sit down and watch Shedeur Sanders start a game in the NFL. In the 3 or 4 maybe now that it has been. I've only otherwise seen through highlights and like game breaks because what I'm currently watching is maybe it's out of market. I haven't had a chance to watch him yet. I was really excited for that. We on this show, and I swear to God, check the tape, we never talked about it. The whole Shedeur Sanders slide during the draft thing, never talked about it. I gave 0 takes on that whole thing. I maybe like in passing gave like 1 or 2 throwaways, but for something that I otherwise had like 45 minutes worth of shit on, never talked about it. Because every other hack in the world was talking about it, and all of the takes dried up immediately. And so once the cycle goes by, and if I don't have anything to say at all, I'm more often than not, I'll just try not to say anything, right? But I otherwise really, really wanted to. But it was annoying. Everybody had the same takes, and everybody was so sure that what they were doing was like fucking righteous and moral, and the camp that they were in, like people using this guy as a projection for this is a whole different thing. See, now I'm doing it. 8 months after the goddamn draft, now I'm finally doing what I've been bottling for so long. No, I'm not going to do it, and I really admire myself that I didn't do it because again, every other hack in the world was doing it the same way. Check the tape. You know how many times we did a Bronny segment in the first like 365 days that he occupied a roster spot in the NBA? You know how many times we earnestly talked about Bronny James for more than like 2 minutes? I'm going to wager never. It never happened. Because everybody just had the most cornball take in the world, for better or for worse, right? No matter what side. Again, everybody used it, these stories as like an arbitration of your fucking morality, and it was crazy. And we stayed out of it. We stayed out of both stories. We stayed out of both of them. I think, if nothing else, is a reflection of the upstanding moral character and integrity of the host of this show, is what I would say. Because the whole Shedeur Sanders, slides and is a day 3 draft pick. He goes in the 5th round to the Cleveland Browns, a team that had already drafted a quarterback. The day before they drafted Dylan Gabriel, and then they're like, fuck it, we'll go get Shedeur Sanders. That whole thing and the way that people talked about it was pretty much the exact same as the whole Sidney Sweeney American Eagle thing. And I think that there are some parallels there. Honestly, I mean, what are we, about 9.5, 10 minutes into this episode? I think it happened. Taping this on the 14th of December. This will release on the 15th. I think we have a late submission for the take of the year. Shedeur Sanders and Sidney Sweeney, basically the same people. The conversations that they start, that they drum up in society with whatever it is that they're doing, whatever medium it is that they're occupying, and whatever thing it is that they're doing. and the way that people deliver their takes about them, they might as well be the same person. In a lot of ways, both of them set up to fail routinely, or given a softball opportunity to succeed, and then just completely striking out and falling on their face. What would this be for Sydney Sweeney? We're like 3-4 months removed from the whole American Eagle ad campaign, and then she does a sit-down interview with a woman who is like, in the nicest way possible, and making it as clear as possible that this is a safe environment for Sydney Sweeney to launder her reputation. That's what this was for, right? And the woman is like, hey, girl, I'm so sorry that I have to bring this up, but like, let's just do this. Let's just get this out of the way. Let's just clear the air. Some people think that you are a Nazi, and I'm not saying it, but there are people who are saying it. And girl, I know this is crazy, but I just wanted to, give you the opportunity to say that you, Sydney Sweeney, denounce fascism, and you denounce the idea of, eugenics or gender superiority or really anything of the sort. And Sydney Sweeney was like, I don't really want to, no, I don't, honestly, this is not really the way that I want to do this. And no, I don't actually really want to do that right now. And the woman was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I guess we can literally talk about anything. I guess we can literally talk. And then the fallout from that, there was a quote recently where Sydney Sweeney did finally officially say that she's not a Nazi and that she thinks that shit is fucked up. And her saying that she had superior genes or whatever the fuck it was, whatever hack shit it was not actually a reflection of the morals that she herself possesses. It took like 6 months, but society finally wringed that out of her. What would that be for Shedeur? Like, what was the opportunity that was, just given to him on a silver platter and he just hit it out of the park? That he just fell on his face and didn't. Is it just Colorado? I mean, you can't say it. Just people, like to point to his record and retiring his jersey or whatever the hell when he won like 10 games for them. Was it? Did he win 10 games for them? You don't want to rewrite it too much. Know that the team wasn't really good. It wasn't really just that the team wasn't good. The offensive line was truly one of the worst offensive lines that you had ever seen play, ever. And so in a lot of ways, the fact that Shedeur was able to even put up the numbers that he did at Colorado, of course he had Travis Hunter, who was one of the most, supremely talented weapons that has ever played college football, literally ever. Yeah, for sure. Who was the second best receiver on that team? Fucking like Jimmy Horn. You know what I mean? Who otherwise, yeah, maybe seems like a pretty high-end receiver for a school like Colorado to get. They weren't always exactly getting the best recruits. But like in the grand scheme of like the talent hierarchy, I don't know. I just, there's one other receiver that they had that I liked that I'm not thinking of his name. But even then, it just didn't. So what am I really trying to do here? Here I go again. I'm doing it. I'm trying. I'm the one who's like, I'm not going to do my Shedeur thing. And, get all these takes off my chest. I'm not going to do it. And I keep saying I'm not going to do it. And then I just keep pretending that I'm doing something else, but I'm really just doing that. And I don't want to fucking do it. I really don't. Because it's just such a dumb, toxic conversation. The truth is, here's what I will admit. If nothing else, here's what I will admit. I don't think it's fucking crazy to think that he might succeed. I don't think that's crazy. He didn't really have the chance. Now I finally get to talking about the damn game that happened today. Doesn't really get the chance to do that at all. It's crazy that a football game could be played in the weather that we had in Chicago today. When I tell you it was cold, I mean, it was that type of cold. So on the field, with wind chill and everything, the real feel at kickoff was like 0 flat. Right? Or like maybe -1. Let's just be generous, because like when it's cold and when it's that cold, you might as well just say sub-zero, right? It's all the same shit. It could be 7 degrees, and I'm gonna inflate it and say that it's damn -5. You know what I mean? Because when it's that cold, fuck off, man. It's the air is just piercing. It's just immediately. Like I cracked a window at one point. The second that one cold burst came in, I had to immediately close. I was like, I can't do this. It physically hurts your skin. You know what I mean? And you see these guys and they don't have their sleeves, and it's just, oh, look at you. You're the best. Look at you, Myles Garrett, the best defensive player who's maybe literally ever played the game of football. Look at you, like raw dogging in these subs, in these Arctic temperatures. Like, cool for you, dude. Maddie was getting so mad. She said it should be a penalty. She said it should be a penalty for like every snap that you don't cover up your skin in these games. And I think this is a brilliant idea. Who's like the biggest defender of a rule like this. Like, just imagining a guy throwing a temper tantrum. Like, imagine Myles Garrett for 4 straight plays, gets an unsportsmanlike conduct, or like I don't know what it would technically be, because he won't just like put a shirt on underneath. I don't know. I don't really know if this is going to go anywhere. I don't think I need to do this. No, there was a sequence early in this Browns Bears game where you see Kevin Stefanski, he throws a challenge flag 2 minutes into the game because the Bears downed a punt at the 1 yard line, and he wanted to challenge if the guys, when he went to bat the ball back in, if his heel went out of bounds, or it was in the end zone or something like that. Because if it was, then it's a touchback, and it gives you a hell of a lot more space than being backed up at the 1. And I think otherwise, in a game that had normal conditions, if it was 50 degrees outside, I think you might roll the dice and say, like, okay, like, that sucks, but it is what it is. But when the weather is as cold as it was, when you're backed up that far, and it's gonna be it's trench warfare to even get a yard in this kind of weather, man, I really didn't blame them. And then it didn't happen. I'm sorry, like, they didn't get the challenge, so they start at the half yard line. They get a false start. They had a damn like a legal procedure, I think. And it's so funny how negligible penalties really are. Like a false start when you're already on the 1 yard line, half the distance to the goal. Okay, cool. We move back 6 inches. It really doesn't matter at that point, And so on this first drive of the game, this is a very long-winded way to say. At this first drive of the game, the Browns start on their half-inch line, on their own goal line. They run like 4 plays. They get like 4 or 5 penalties called on them. And in the broadcast booth, they're like, I wouldn't exactly put it in the Hall of Fame for Browns drives. And I was like, well, the thing that you just, you know what I mean? The thing that you just said, when you watch the Browns like do a Tom and Jerry act for like 2.5 minutes, and the first thing you think to yourself is, well, that's not exactly a Hall of Fame Browns. No, it's actually exactly what you just said. And I was waiting for somebody in the booth to like, look, man, we all know what it is. We all know what team we're watching. We all know their franchise's history, and we all saw what we just saw. One of you can make the joke that, like, well, actually, you know what I mean? Oh, I'm just kidding, Browns fans. Like, at home, I'm sorry. Don't send in angry letters to CBS or Fox, whatever affiliate this was. It was a Fox game. Nobody was going to say it. Okay. Did Shedeur look good today? Nah, I don't know. Caleb did, though, man. Caleb just is so safe with the ball. He is so safe with the ball. And, I think, maybe we're at the point where the Bears just kind of win in games. They've moved away from inventing ways to win, where there was like a 4-week stretch, namely the Bengals win, one of the craziest that's probably the game of the year this year, or at least ending of the year, that Bears-Bengals game. Insanity. There was a 4-week stretch where they were pulling rabbits out of hats like that and winning games that they had no business otherwise winning. They've kind of moved away from that, and now they're just kind of winning games, You think about that Eagles game, I don't think they had a starting linebacker I think they were out, all the linebackers. Sure, with the Eagles, it is a little bit of a coin flip with the Eagles. Are you, did I talk about this in the last episode? I'm getting hit with deja vu, so I may have said exactly this within the last episode or two, and I apologize if I did. I really feel like I did. It is kind of a coin flip with these Eagles, where it's like, are we getting the Super Bowl defending Eagles, or are we getting the Eagles from like 3 years ago when they were like 10-1 and then they lost out, and that was kind of it? You know what I mean? Which one are we getting? Which version did the Bears get that night? I would argue the latter, but I don't think it matters. They're still the defending Super Bowl champs. And for all intents and purposes, the road still does go through Philly in the NFC, and so again, they're defending world champions, man. It goes through them to win the damn Super Bowl at the end of the day. So that's not nothing. And then what was the one that they just won last week that I'm not thinking of? It doesn't matter. Look, that Browns defense is really good. And the Bears were able to move the ball. And again, Caleb is just so safe. He's really safe with the ball. I think now they've kind of morphed into winning games that are like real, and winning them in kind of like a convincing fashion. And again, just like being smart and being decisive. It's bananas. It's really, really bananas to watch. And then as something else, I don't know how much I'm going to have on what I'm about to bring up. So I might move on. I really don't know how much I'm going to have to say, because I say at the beginning of this, I'm taping this right after the Lions lost. Yeah, that's true. But in between the Lions losing and, the 10 minutes that went by and me sitting down and recording, some news came out. I had no idea what happened in the Chiefs game today. I had no idea. All I ended up seeing was that they lost and that they were officially eliminated from playoff contention. I made a note of that, and I said, I'm not bringing that shit up on the show. Absolutely not. I'm silent. I'm not bringing that up. If you ask me a question, if this is like a press, we're at the podium, I would say no comment. I haven't seen that. I haven't heard about that. I don't know about that. Like when they asked Steve Kerr about China, they asked Steve Kerr, hey, what do you think about Daryl Morey's comments about China? And Steve Kerr, a guy who otherwise seems to know everything about everything in the world and seems to have something to say about a little bit of everything in the world. The second that he was asked to denounce the shit that Daryl Morey said about China, Steve Kerr was like, I'm not educated and I'm not informed. Right. Right. That is me for real with Kansas City being eliminated from playoff contention, right? So that's all that I knew. What is this? Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL? Huh? Are you shitting me? I mean, for real, the one game I not only don't watch of theirs this year, but I had no idea what happened. Again, other than I found out that they lost. And that was only an hour after it even happened. I had no idea. The one time that I don't watch, and this shit happens. Because now, they go into the start of next year. You would imagine they are not going to have Patrick Mahomes. With science, medicine these days, timelines on this stuff, you would just imagine at least a couple weeks into the season, he'll be back to play a majority of it. I mean, who knows? This just happened. I don't know. This stinks. I don't know how to, again, this only just happened. This is just I don't know how to say this. Well, I don't know. At least man, how do I say this? At least it happened if it was going to happen, if the football gods said they rolled the dice at the beginning of the year and they said they rolled Patrick Mahomes and torn ACL. Well, the dice don't lie. It's going to happen at some point this year, right? And the football gods, it was just a matter of when. If that was true, at least it happened on the week that you got eliminated and not week 17 when they're only kind of half playing. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know how to say this, man. But at least he got ahead of the recovery. I don't know. Well, at least if he was going to tear his ACL, he did it not in the last game of the year. So that way there's at least a little bit more time between now and when he comes. That doesn't sound like that bad of a take. Just because I say that in an idiot's voice and it's presented in a way that, something that an idiot would say, that guy might be onto something. I think I might be onto something. I think if I'm going to blow out my knee and it's week, what is this, 15? Is this week 15? If I got to blow out my knee, I'd rather do it in week 15 than 18. You know what I mean? Well, at this point, if I had a crystal ball and I said that the Chiefs, oh my God, I might be onto something here. We got an even later submission for the take of the year. And if I may be so gracious to myself, this is another take of the episode. We got a gold mine here, folks. Would you rather tear your ACL in week 10 if you knew that if you had a crystal ball and it said you're not going to the playoffs this year and you have to tear your ACL? Would you rather do it in week 10? I would rather do it in week 1. Yeah, get it out of the way. Because at that point, then I might be good by the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? By then, and that way in the spring, yeah, I would want to know. I'd want to know. If the football gods were going to do me like that, don't do it when it's... Because all I said was, well, did I say you're not going to make the playoffs or did I say you're not going to win the Super Bowl? Because if it's just you're not going to win the Super Bowl, then it could get even darker and you could do it in the conference championship game or something like that. And then what could have been or something you know what I mean? Yeah, if you come to... I got to know that. You got to give me that information. And then in week 1, I'm taking a dive. First play of the season. Only like when Peyton Manning in the first snap of the Super Bowl, the ball flies over his head. Sorry, Broncos fans. The ball flies over his head. And the first play of the Super Bowl was a safety. You'll never see it again, folks. You'll never see that shit again. I mean, a true where were you moment. Let's do it real quick. Where was I? Aunt and uncle's house, just a Super Bowl party in South Lyon, Michigan. Nothing crazy, just at a Super Bowl party. And I mean, people weren't even fully seated yet. The game just started. It was the first play of the game. Where were you when the first play of the game was a Super Bowl? And then the next day, the rumors started flying on Facebook that like Mark Cuban won $10 billion because he bet that was going to happen or some shit like that. I've never found out if that was actually true. It would be just like that, only on the first play, I'm doing I don't want to do the phonetics of what I would do to my knee, because that's a sort of grisly thing to listen to, in the morning to start your week. I don't know. Some of you guys are probably, I don't need to do it anyway. It doesn't matter. I don't need to do it. And finally, folks, I won't leave you hanging any longer. I will give you I don't know what you came here for. I don't know that. I pride myself in, the audience is very much a reflection of the host in a lot of ways, right? You guys don't flock to the show. At least you don't really vocalize it this way just because my team's lost, Like the Pistons lose to the Knicks in the playoffs. I mean, outside of a couple people who were like Knicks fans, there wasn't, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like, oh, sickos and perverts get in here. That's really nice. The exception is the Lions losing to the Commanders in the playoffs, but that's different. But I get that. I mean, that's just shocking. That's different. Anybody would be like that. It's just not really a thing. That's really nice of you guys. So this feels like a safe space right now. And so it feels like I can tell you this, and be honest. I can just be honest. Whatever, man. Fucking whatever. That they lost today? Whatever. It stinks. I'm upset about it. But it's not over. And so that's kind of what I'm hanging on to. It was otherwise. Look, it's hard you let up 40 points and 500 yards of offense. What are the odds that how many teams in NFL history have won that game? It's happened. It's happened for sure. It's happened. And I would wager it's maybe happened like over 25 times. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not that many times. It's not that many. Well, it hasn't been that many games. 25 times don't get into the semantics of this, brother. It doesn't matter. Jahmyr Gibbs largely held in check in that second half. Well, for a majority of the game, the run game just wasn't there. I think what ended up being the best run of the game, which was by Jahmyr, ended up getting called back in the red zone on I think it was Panay, on a holding call. And so the Lions, start the second half. I mean, the Rams were on a 20-0 run. Lions are up 10, 24-14. They go into halftime 24-17. Let up 3 really annoying points to end the first half. And then after that, 17 more from the Rams. That was pretty much it. Lions went cold. The Rams are a really tough team to go even like 2 straight drives, like being unproductive. It's a hard team to do that against. Because I think that they flashed this graphic near the end of the game. I think it was something to the effect of the Rams scored 40 points and had over 500 yards of offense in back-to-back games now. First time a team's done that since 2000. And I believe that was the Rams, they said, the greatest show on turf. Oh, gotcha. I don't want to sound like a cock loser, but it was kind of nice. It's just nice seeing Stafford, like, just proving all of us right. Still, that part's cool. Now, it's not cool that it's at the expense of my team now. That's not cool. I'm not like, who the fuck was the guy in SpongeBob? When he was like, hi, Kevin, I'm your biggest fan. Oh, yeah, I guess that was SpongeBob. That was literally for real SpongeBob. Hi, Kevin, I'm your biggest fan. I'm not trying to be like that still with Matthew Stafford. Nobody's always going to be my guy. And how vindicate. Can't believe it's been 5 years. Cannot believe it's been 5 years. Every time that they say that Jared Goff has now spent more time in his career with the Lions than he did with the Rams, I don't believe that that's true. It is. It's empirical fact. But I don't believe, that's crazy. That's crazy. Insane that it's been 5 years since that trade happened. And Matthew Stafford has just been dealing all 5 years. Won a Super Bowl, by the way. For real, won a Super Bowl against the Wonder Kid, Joe Burrow. Matthew Stafford, the round previous to that, beat Tom Brady. Ever fucking heard of the guy? In Tampa Bay. Had a last-second prayer to Cooper Kupp. One of the best throws you'll ever see in your life. Like real Titanic shit. One of the best throws you'll ever see in your life. That guy won a Super Bowl. He's in year, 2,100? He's 39 years old, 38 years old. He's old as hell in terms of, as far as quarterbacks go. I mean, hey, Phillip Rivers almost won a damn game, and he's 100. And he's 100. And that guy's about to win MVP? Probably at this point. He takes care of business against, they have Seattle on Thursday, I think. I mean, what am I saying? That's the MVP lock game? No, I don't think that's true. But I don't even really know what else to say. I'm just bummed. What do you guys, you finally gave me the language to describe, the way that I haven't been able to, like, what the emotion is, like what I'm feeling this year about the Lions, like what I'm feeling that's so different. One of you guys finally gave me the language, and it was actually way easier and way more simple than I thought that it was. Yeah, it's just that they're not playing with house money anymore. It's just that it's not the last 2 years where it was like cool and fun and cute that the Lions were finally a fucking wagon. And it was just fun to see like where the rocket was going to go, and now that there are real expectations and there's like the competition, not just within the division, but the entire conference is out of this world in the NFC, how good it is, and having to compete within that ecosystem and to have expectations. It makes it, I don't know, man. I don't want to say it makes watching a lot less fun. That's not true. I've waited my whole life to watch them play the meaningful games that they're playing and to watch them, be as competitive as they are every single week. Here's something that's different. The last 2 years, I really went into every single Sunday being like, they're going to win this game. They're going to win this game. And it just so happened in the last 2 years, more often than not, every single week, they won the fucking game. Last year they were 15-2 and then lost. Very famously lost their first playoff game as the 1 seed in the divisional round against the Washington Commanders. Big old upset, rookie quarterback Jaylen Brown. Very famously, that was a real thing that happened. This year, I don't feel that way at all. That they're going to win every single week. No, I don't feel that way at all. Week 1 against the Packers, I was like, no way. Which, by the way, I do the whole Mahomes thing. Michael Parsons also down with a non-contact injury. That's all that we know as of this taping. That's the only reason I haven't really said anything about it. By the time you're listening, there's going to be something. Hell, by the time I'm editing the show, there's probably going to be something. But while I'm taping this, literally all that we know is that he went down with a non-contact, and that's it. So you kind of assume, what that could be. But hey, who knows? Weird shit happens all the time. Maybe it was just weird cramps. I'll cross my fingers and maybe we'll manifest that and hope that it's true for Packers fans, right? But I knew that week 1 game was not going to be. It's just different this year, man. It's just different, and the team is still really good. I mean, hey, I don't want to, let everybody off the hook here. Pretty fucking weird to watch a guy, catch the ball and then have both knees down 2 yards before the end zone, and then like his momentum of being tackled, pushes him into the end zone. But like he's down, and there's pretty substantial evidence to suggest via replay that he was down as hell like a yard or two before the end zone. And then the refs are just kind of like, yeah, but they're probably going to score in like 1 or 2 plays anyways. Why don't we just give them the touchdown now? The fuck was that? What was that? Why did the Rams just get a free touchdown? That was really weird. I thought that was really, really weird. The Lions had a sequence where they ran a draw play to Jameer on 3rd and 11 in positive territory. They ended up settling for 3 after that shit blew up in their face, Looney Tunes style. So they did get points out of it. Look, I understand why teams do that shit on 3rd and 11. They'll run it right up the gut, or they'll go, short yardage throw out to the boundary, just do a screen, get it to a playmaker out in space and see what he can do with the ball. Usually, I guess there's a lot of scenarios. In that instance, the Lions are in positive territory. I get you're doing 3rd and 11, short yardage shit to A, see how much you can pick up, Because if you get enough, maybe, I don't know, we can go for it on fourth down. You have 2 plays there is the logic, right? If it goes well, you have 2 plays there. And then the other thing is, if it goes well, it's because we catch the defense off guard because they're not expecting us to run a fucking draw on 3rd and 11. But then it gets stuffed. Pretty sure they lost a yard. Look, I get why teams do it, but it pisses me off, man. And we do it all the time. So I'm mad about it, but it is actually like within the identity of the Lions. Like that is shit that they do. And by the way, it has worked a lot in the past, you know, where Jameer actually does pick up 7 yards on that 3rd and 11. And now it's 4th and 4. And now it's like, okay, yeah, we're probably going to go for this. You know, Riverboat Dan Gamble has been a lot more reserved, I think, in the last month. I'm not mad about this particularly. I think most Lions fans have seen this change happen where early in the season, you know, we saw the Lions, I say the last month, wasn't it the Thanksgiving game that they went over 100 on 4th down? So it actually hasn't, it was just basically since then. You know, the Lions have left so many points on the board because they just keep going for it, or they, you know, they give, God damn it, come on, brother. They give the ball to the opponent in like positive territory because they went for it on a risk. You know what I mean? And I think that, you know, Dan doesn't want to keep putting the defense in a bad spot. And he realizes that we can't really fuck around with leaving points on the board. You saw it happen a couple times today when they were able to, you know, just take the points. Jake Bates did miss a field goal today. Yeah, I guess it technically in the end wouldn't have mattered. Hutch almost had a pick 6. That did almost happen. He almost had like a 75-yard pick 6. Would have been super sick if he did. That play, that sequence that happened for Hutch has for real been brewing for his entire career, and I'm so happy it finally happened because he really does position himself on the edge so well in those screen plays. Like exactly how he did today. And he always gets his hands. He always bats those balls down, and he's always so close to getting them. And today, against Stafford, of all people, it was cool to see him do it. And it was, man, he was so close. He was so close to housing it. The Lions, that they did get a touchdown on that. That's right. They scored on the first play. Amon-Ra had a deep post, and they just whoop right over the top of him. That's another thing that happened in the second half today. I think Los Angeles focused. The job of the safeties, for some reason, this was not the task in the first half. But in the second half, they did a lot better of a job keeping the lid on the defense, so to speak. You know, that those deep post routes that we were just talking about, you know, that they had scored on, were taken away, and they were forcing the Lions to go underneath. The run game, again, was a complete non-factor. So those explosive chunk plays that the Lions had in the first half were just completely taken away in the second half. You know, I'm upset, but like I'm just kind of like, yeah. The Thanksgiving game really took the wind out of my sails. That was kind of when it was like, all right, yeah. It's just not. It just happens, man. It just happens. They could still for real win the Super Bowl, by the way. It could happen. It could happen. And that's kind of where I check myself sometimes when I get all like, whatever, it doesn't matter. Because I don't want to, you know, you think a little bit more long term. Well, I don't know. Things, again, to take it back to the beginning, and I'll wrap up on this. The way that things I think are going to shake out is that Week 18 against Chicago will be a playoff game. I think the odds are that that's how it will play out. The NFL, oh my God, they're crossing their fingers. We need the Bears to lose, I think, one more time in order for that to be the case. And then we need to win the rest of our games. And then that game, because the Lions own the tiebreaker over the Bears, if they win that, they would have the same record and the Lions would get in. That's what we got to root for. So I think the Packers and the Bears play one more time. For the love of God, Green Bay, for the love of God, I would never otherwise, and I mean literally ever, ask this of you. Please, I root against you in this game every single year, every single time I root against you guys. But I love the Bucks. I love the Bucks so fucking much, dude. I love Giannis. Luke Fickell. What do I want to say about Luke Fickell? Because this could really, you know what I mean? This could get what I say about Luke Fickell to a Packers fan will either completely get them on board with me or I will be ostracized entirely. I think Wisconsin football deserves better than Luke Fickell. Damn it, I said it. I think they should have fired him this year. Maybe they shouldn't have. With how weird this carousel was, maybe the smart thing to do was to just say, we're probably going to win 6 or 7 games. Like, let's just keep him for one more fucking year, and then we'll re-roll the dice next year. But I think you guys deserve better. So what do you say, Packers fans? Are you going to go beat the Bears? Go beat the Bears for me. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. I've been meaning to read this one for maybe a week now. A fan experience email. We don't get too many of these. This one comes into us from Hunter. Hunter, I believe, welcome back to the show. Subject line, bonding over Jaylen Brown's hair. Hey, Nick, I don't know if you're like me, but every time, without fail, that I go to a game or concert somewhere, I am seated next to the most annoying or rudest stranger imaginable. Last month was the first exception. I attended the Pacers versus Warriors game last month to watch Steph Curry play for the first time. Oh, break the email for a second. Very, very cool. Very, very cool feeling. First time I got to see Steph play wasn't until 2015. It was either 2015 or 2016. I don't remember which one, but I've gotten to see him a couple times now. Maybe like 5 or 6. It's mesmerizing. It's one of the coolest things. Watching that guy warm up before a game really was one of the more out-of-body things I had ever seen. Watching Derrick Rose warm up too was bizarre. I think I saw him for the first time when he was in New York, I think. I definitely saw him when he was in Minnesota, but I don't think that would have been the first time. I'll have to ask my brother because I got him the tickets for his birthday because Derrick Rose was his favorite player growing up. Derrick Rose was another one of those guys too. But sorry, yeah, it's Steph Curry singing. I'm happy you got to do that, dude. That's awesome. Let's get back to the email. For context, I am not a fan of the Pacers or the Warriors. Indiana was just the closest venue to me to watch NBA games. I sat next to an older black man in his 70s, as opposed to me, a mid 20 years old white guy. The first thing he said to me the entire time was, "You see Jaylen Brown's hair come off on that guy's jersey?" The best opening line imaginable. We then went on to talk ball the entire game. He even knew current G League players and whatnot. Elite ball knowledge. Genuinely one of the nicest conversations I've had in a while at any game. Have you ever had any positive interactions before like this at a game? Or are you like me and mostly have weirdos sit next to you at the games? Also, you gave me your wrapped. Awesome. Amazing email. This guy rocks. That guy rocks. It's a lot of courage. I think it's a lot of trust in somebody being on the same internet as you to lean over to a stranger and to be like, y'all seen Jaylen Brown's hair come off on that guy's jersey? Because if you don't know what they're talking about, that sounds insane. Maybe it's not. Did it transcend like that many internets? I don't know how big of a deal that was, because I feel like it's weird that the more that it happened, the less that people somehow talked about it. Which is weird. The first time it happened, it blew everybody's mind, and then it happened, I think, it happened like 4 times, and then by the end, it just kind of just wasn't really a thing anymore. So funny. I can tell you, man, I've thought about this email for like a week now, been wanting to read it. I guess I'm glad that I waited. I really gave myself a lot of time. This guy's so funny. I don't have anything that's even close to as funny as this, and it's so cool. It is a little bit of a coin flip. What kind of guy being around the guy at a professional game that knows too much and like knows everything? Because like what I'm saying is like, it's really cool for you that it was a positive experience and that you guys were just kind of able to like hang out and like be dudes for, 2.5 hours. That's really, really cool. It's a really cool experience. But like I've had a dude sit behind me. You talk about always being around like the worst fucking person. In a lot of ways, I think we can all relate to that. Maybe we'll unpack some stories in a minute. I don't really count this as one, but just like this guy was just annoying. Guy sitting directly behind me, and like him and his buddy were just like hammering beers and just talking about like every player that touched the ball. They would just like talk about how much better they were in college. And then they would talk about like the AAU teams they were on. It was like wild, like the depth that they were talking about these guys. But it was like the whole game, and they were talking at a really loud volume, almost as if like you know what I mean? Like, wow, look at the ball knowers here. It was just it was too much, and it was really annoying. You sit around people. There's nothing funnier than, I don't know how many of you have ever sat around a guy who's at a game with a girl, and he just like says shit to her that is like, I'm like, I feel like the guy in Inglourious Basterds when they're in the basement when Michael Fassbender holds up 3 fingers, but he holds up the wrong 3 fingers. And the guy's like, huh. Just like listening to like ball watchers out in the wild, it's so funny to me. It's so funny to me to hear. I don't need to keep going into this. Those types of people exist. I've tried so hard, man, to think about one experience that was even kind of as funny as this, as a guy just be like, y'all see Jaylen Brown's hair come off on that guy's jersey? It's so damn funny. It's so funny. Just guys being dudes. No, nothing. I guess, I don't know. Most of my luck, just sort of in general, when it comes to dealing with like just knuckleheads in public, you think about airports, or rather like airplanes. I will say, knock on wood, I've taken my fair share of flights in my life. I don't know, like somewhere between like 20 and 30. So like, I've like been on planes before enough times that you would think that this has happened, but it hasn't. The whole crying baby thing, it's never actually happened to me. Like to me, that's like complete fiction. It's made up. It's not real. I think I might have more empathy for it now, but I also think it may like trigger something in my brain, and it might just it might send me into like a paternal sort of tailspin that there's not something I'm able to do about it. So I don't know how I would handle it. I wouldn't be mad at them though. A couple years ago, I would have been like, I fucking hate my life right now. No, now I'm just going to be like, I actually feel bad for the parent because I can't imagine what they feel like right now, because that's really got to suck for them, right? But I've never had that happen before. I think most of my bad experiences with like just people, they come in movie theaters, man, which really stinks because I think a lot of you out there are going to relate to this. That shit to me is temple, bro. Like going to a movie theater is such a cathartic experience for me. And the couple times that I've gotten out of the house just by myself since our son is born, every single time I go to the movies by myself, because it's like the one thing that I really, really miss more than anything is the amount of times that I would just like wake up and be like, I have nothing to do today. I'm for real just going to go see a movie. I don't even know what's showing. I'm just going to go, and whatever I see is what I see. You know what I mean? There was one day where, this was a couple years ago, I've only ever done a double feature once, but it was a really fun day. Went to an AMC and saw Spencer, which was the Kristen Stewart, Princess Diana biopic. This was years ago. And then that night, it was the same day that Eternals came out, that piece of shit Marvel movie. This was back when we were first realizing, oh, okay, so it's completely over with Marvel. I fell asleep. That was the only time I've ever in my life fallen asleep in a movie theater. I fell asleep during Eternals, and I don't care to this day that I did. I don't fucking care at all that happened. I was also high as shit, but I don't care at all that happened. I wake up, and it's like kind of the end of the movie. And then I stay around for the end credits. I don't really know why. I think it was just because I was like, dude, I need my eyes to like adjust to the world. And Harry Styles was in it. Wow, impressed. They still haven't done anything with that. They haven't even acknowledged that is a thing. No, I don't. But I don't get to do that stuff anymore, man. But that's where all that damn knuckleheads always are. And I'm never going to be the guy that gets up and is like, hey, man, like, can you go to just some, 19-year-old douchebag into the movie theater who's just kind of there? And I'd be like, hey, will you go kick these people out? Why would I put that on them? They're a kid. I'm not doing that. What if it was somebody my age? No, bro, you got your own shit to figure out. You got your own shit going on. I'm not bothering anybody to kick somebody out of a movie theater, but that doesn't mean that I should have to tolerate it. It's bullshit. Citizen's arrest, just tase them. No, but it's so disrespectful. Motherfuckers like be on FaceTime, like treating it like speakerphone. It's just the whole thing, man. It pisses me off so much. I really don't have anything though. It really stinks. This doesn't even count. I'm just trying to think of like insane interactions. Well, actually, I did have a guy. It might have been the same guys I was talking about earlier at a Pistons game, where they were drinking too many beers. Brother, the game hadn't even started yet. And, stadium seating, it's close together. They're sitting one row up behind me, and they just start, puking onto the ground, and it's like splashing on me. But I didn't feel it because I'm wearing like a wool jacket. I looked really nice, and I was real cozy in my wool jacket. So I didn't feel it. It was catching all the vomit. And Maddie and my father-in-law, they like look over and they're all pissed off and all disgusted. And I'm like, I'm chilling with my dirty Shirley on some like, damn, I must look fruity as hell if they're looking at me this upset. And then I find out, no, it's because I got this dude's yak all over my back. Unintentional rhyme. I do that from time to time. Dr. Seuss in this news. It is weird in retrospect that I did nothing about that. I think I just was like, oh, whatever, that's fine. Maddie just like wiped it off my jacket, and I was like, like, I don't care. It's weird looking back on that. I think it's because I didn't really feel it happening, and I didn't really know what was happening. And then when it was over, I didn't really care. It's probably good that, what would have happened to me? Was I really going to fight a guy? We had too good of seats. I wasn't going to fight anybody that night. Our seats were too good. And I paid too much money for them, and I didn't pay for them. Maddie did. Are you kidding me? You think I have control over the credit card? No way. She paid for them. Well, we paid for them. It's our money, but I didn't earn any of that money. Well, I did it my own way. That's the conversation we always have. I earned it in my own way. It is our money. I earn it in my own way. I do a lot at home, and I don't get paid for it. So I wasn't going to fight that night. I'm not going to fight if the seats aren't good. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. This one's fun. This is brand new. I don't know what this is going to be. That's why there's a pause. There's some pause in my voice. I don't know what this one's going to be. You want to gamble on this email from Isaac? Let's try it. Subject line is back stateside. Did this guy go abroad? Would be my superpowers of deduction. I think this guy left the United States, and I think he may be home. I'm just curious. Maybe he was in like some war torn. Maybe he was in Somalia. If that guy was in Somalia, he would not be back in the country right now. No way. If you tried to get into the United States from Somalia right now, they would probably send you away the same way they sent that guy away. Was he from Sweden or fucking Poland or something? He tried to get into the U.S. earlier this year, but he had like a meme of J.D. Vance on his phone, and so they kicked him out of the country. I would imagine if this guy was in Somalia, he probably wouldn't be saying, "What's up? I'm back in the United States." He'd probably be like, "What's up? I'm in a black site prison." Let's find out. Why don't I just read the email and let's find out? Or I could spend the next 15 minutes creating emails that would be better than whatever. I don't know. Maybe this is good. I don't want to be mean. Maybe this is going to be good. Back stateside from Isaac. What's up? After 7 full days and 26 hours of flights later, I have arrived back to the States from training in Tel Aviv. Training for what in Tel Aviv? We will find out. Oh, let this be real. Let this be real, Habibi. Please, let me read this. Please give me strength and let me read this. Let's start from the beginning. Let's not. I have arrived back into the States from training in Tel Aviv. I'm not sure where I could start other than from the beginning of this trip. Last we left off, I came across an armed individual at the airport. What the fuck is this? You sent me an email about this? You did! Oh my God, you did! Oh, you're not in the IDF. I don't remember what this is. Oh my God. Oh, I don't remember what the other email was. You said it's been 7 full days. That makes sense. It's been a little bit. Oh my God. I thought we were getting infiltrated by the fucking Mossad. I'm so serious. Oh my God. I kind of want to, should we go back at this point? We have to. Let me search this. Let me literally for real search your name and let's find the other one. Okay. All right. Let's try this. From 10 days ago. This is from Isaac. Let's get the full picture. We got to figure out what the fuck's going on. I don't remember if he's not in the IDF, but let's find out. Okay. From 10 days ago, subject line, what is happening? Good day, Nick. I'm emailing you from sunny Toronto, Canada. This is the first time my feet have touched foreign soil. I'm not even sure it truly counts, as this is a short layover to my final destination. But I'm booking it either way. I don't like the way that you say final destination. I don't like that. You sound like the guy. I don't want to say you sound like the guys that the CIA was surveilling, in the months leading up to 9/11 when they were like, we'll see you in paradise. Like, oh, and they were like, what's going on? Like, what is this? I don't like the way you said final destination. We got a lot to unpack here, and I think we just got to read it. All right. You're not Al-Qaeda. I don't like that. I don't want you to think that because if this ends up being that you are in the military, I don't want to. Okay. Let's clean slate this whole thing, dude. All right. Let's start reading this like you're some fucking guy. All right. And that's it. Welcome to the show, Isaac. Quick notes on Toronto from the airport perspective. A high-quality skyline, very pretty start of the sunset. Still very funny to me that I am south of where I took off from Minneapolis. We're starting to piece some of the locations together. Okay, started in Minneapolis, then we were in Toronto. Okay. I'm sure I'm not the first, but I have to wax poetic about how the show has helped me get through the day. This isn't funny. I'm sorry. I don't know how this is going to turn out. I'm worried how this is going to turn out. And let me just get through it. We got to read the emails, folks. Okay. So you're just being nice. You're being nice to me. You're nervous to fly and you're like, oh, I love listening to the show. And it makes me not so nervous. You say all that being said, from before my connecting flight took off until after touchdown of this flight, I was straight coping on an old episode of the show I downloaded. Not for no reason. I had to circle back to what the narrative was on Giannis leaving Milwaukee a few short months ago. I can't say I'm so sure we're in the same boat if he isn't leaving whatsoever. I have no idea what the suitor may be, but it has never been more over in this era of Milwaukee basketball. All this to say, I have appreciated well, thank you all of this so much. You do say, you're a fan of the way that I interact with the show and with the audience. And I am so sorry that I am interacting with you in this way right now. I don't like this, but it's the bed that we've made and I'm trying to sleep in it. And you got to let me hit my REM cycle. Okay. I got to get through this, man. And thank you so much for all these kind words. And because we have a clean slate, all that I'm saying is nice stuff to you. And I haven't said anything else. But it is interesting that now this is a hoops email and there's a lot here. So, folks, normally I would just punt and I would say, all right, let's do something else. I owe it to myself to get through this. I got to get to the bottom of this whole thing. And it could take another hour if I won't just read the damn email. If I won't read it, then, who knows how long we'll be here. But let's get through this, okay? So you say, okay, I'm completely burying the lead here. I mean, join the club. Can I break the email again while we're at it? What's one more? You and me both, man. I mean, come on. Can we get there together? You and me. Can we get there? Jesus. Okay, I'm completely burying the lead here. I'm not a nervous flyer. I'm traveling abroad. What's the big idea? Why am I so worked up? A long story made as short as possible. This flight I will be on for the next 10 hours and 45 minutes will make its final stop in Tel Aviv, which is what you said. I'm not actually adding the extra crassities there. I took a new job with a smaller medical device company that was moving its U.S. operations from Chicago to the greater Twin Cities area in a role where travel is absolutely expected. The company's CEOs are currently based out of Israel, which I have done mental gymnastics for weeks about joining. But at the end of the day, I accepted the position as I believe that in any way that this job goes, the outcome of a potential career working for companies that shape the way our hospitals operate could be very attractive. I will break the email for just a moment to say it must be nice to have functioning hospitals in a country like that. It must be nice. It must be nice to have functioning maternity wards. That must be nice. Need a lot of energy to power those. It just is nice. Observationally, it's just nice that they have functioning hospitals. And it's too bad that some countries don't. It's too bad. During my interview, I was assured that nearly all of my travel would be domestic to the United States and that any travel internationally would be few and far between, if at all. The day I was to accept the job, now my training has been moved overseas. Can I read that again? That seems weird. During my interview, I was assured that nearly all of my travel would be domestic. All right, they were like, hey, you're only going to stay in the United States. And any travel internationally would be few and far between, if at all. The day I was to accept the job, now my training has been moved overseas. I have so many thoughts going through my head as I type this, but nothing I can put in clear words in this email. I will give a follow-up on notable experiences, or if, God forbid, any real shit goes down in this week, I will be boots on the fucking ground with the hard-hitting updates. Ending this email as the flight is readying for takeoff. Godspeed, Nick. Hope you and the family are well. I mean, damn, brother. There's a follow-up. The first thing I see is someone carrying a full damn assault rifle through the airport. Got some alcohol in me during the overnight flight and was feeling better, and now I'm back to spiraling. I am not having fun yet. That was 9 days ago. It was 9 days ago. So he saw a guy from, I would imagine, the IDF in the airport with a gun. A commonplace, I'm sure, in a lot of countries around the world. Jarring to see, nonetheless, and easy to draw conclusions based on things that we already think. So, okay, so that was a week and a half ago, and 2 hours ago, Isaac gave us this update. Okay? We found out why he's in Israel. I don't think he's Mossad. I don't think he this guy checks out. I don't think he's Mossad. We found out why he's there. We found out the gun thing. Yeah, that was kind of it. And then the gun thing, and that was kind of it. All right, so let's do the last email again. Back stateside. This just came in. He's alive. A week and a half later, he's alive. What's happened in Israel? Let's find out. This is brand new to me. After 7 full days and 26 hours of flights later, I have arrived back to the States from training in Tel Aviv. I'm not sure where I could start other than from the beginning of this trip. Last we left off, I came across an armed individual at the airport. Yes. And then this is where, yes, we have officially been caught up to speed. To make the understatement of the decade, that was not the last rifle I saw during this trip. It is mandated by their government for everyone just out of primary school to serve in the military. Yeah, it's like conscription, like for real conscription, isn't it? Is that the word that you would use for here? Yeah, and if you don't serve in the IDF, you for real go to jail. Yeah. So that famous tweet of, what is it? I'd rather serve crack than serve my country. I mean, I suppose that could be an option there. Yeah, this is real. You say fleets of these people would walk through the streets getting out of whatever training they would be coming from. There's a lot of pride around the IDF, unsurprisingly, but I'll touch on the pride of this country later in the email. On my first full day in the country, I was invited with a group of coworkers of the company to visit ancient ruins about 50 miles north of where we stayed. Had we decided to make the trip in any other direction, I would have driven into Gaza, unrelated, but put a lot of perspective into me. God damn. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. You expressed at the beginning, in an earlier email. What a turn this has taken, man. You expressed sort of earlier in the email, maybe some transgressions. Is that the word? Clearly you have some moral qualms about being where you are or where you were, right? And I think to know that you are, really a stone's throw away, a 10-minute car ride away from the single worst brutality of an entire, millennia. To be on the doorstep of that, I can't imagine how, and I don't really even know what to say. Like, really just what a helpless feeling that would be, because what the fuck are you supposed to do? And the people that you're with, to your point here, they take a lot of pride in perpetuating that atrocity, and seeing the dial turned up a notch, so to speak. I can't imagine. I really cannot imagine what that does to you psychologically. So let's just try to get back to the email. 50 miles north where we stayed. Frankly, this was the highlight of the trip. Touring the ruins that had originally been built by those in the Roman Empire helped me take a step back and put into perspective that not only what was in front of my face, but also where in the world I found myself. As cool as this place was, and as nice as it was to take myself out of the holy shit, what am I doing here mindset, the reminders of what I was in, the reminders that I was in a batshit insane place were still there. While we were driving there, my boss had pointed out to me the two key landmarks: Netanyahu's private home and the House of the Mossad. I was reminded about 1 million times to not involve myself with any political talks before leaving. Unfortunately, that choice is non-existent. People love to talk about Bibi and the October 7th attacks in all contexts, especially when driving by these landmarks. Oh, I can't even imagine. So, like, the bomb shelters that they used as, like, as shelter during the, was it Supernova? Was that the music festival? People flee the music festival and they're running up and down the highway. These massive piles up, these massive cars. Oh my fucking God, Nick, come on, man. These massive pileups of cars happen. People are using these bomb shelters as cover from these guys from Hamas running around with guns. They're throwing fucking grenades into these little bomb shelters. These little closed off, essentially just like little rest stop looking things, is what our equivalent would be. People huddled up in there and they're just throwing damn grenades in there and shit. Yeah, they probably turn that into, these like big like highway mirror, which what am I really trying to do here? What am I really trying to poke at with that? Everything I just said is true and did happen. You can try to do the decapitated babies thing and all that shit. You can do shit that didn't happen, but the shit that did happen is awful enough. Is actually awful enough. Another but here I go again. Here I go again on my own. Let's get back to the email, okay? Reality is that it's all sorts of politics that they like to talk about, mostly around how Israel does so much for other Middle Eastern countries that depend on them for water, electricity, and all things that diplomats in a normal setting would maybe try to settle out and work with those around them with. Maybe I'm being naive and thinking wishfully, but it just rubbed me the wrong way when people talk about issues like this of how other countries should be more grateful that Israel does anything for them in the first place. I need to separate these conversations from what I really thought of the Israeli population, though, because it's not a fair description of everyday life. Walking through Tel Aviv always felt like walking through any other city. One thing that stood out to me was the graffiti, art, and flags people flew. Lots of anti-war signage around. The phrase most commonly I saw was, "Bring them home, now." A chord was struck in me whenever I saw this. It made me feel much more at peace. And like I was around people that had good intentions and willingness to stand against an establishment that is portrayed so brashly in the media. The most common graffiti I saw was an Israel flag with a heart around the Star of David, which circles me back to the pride of the country. Israelites, especially well-off individuals, love their country. They make it a fantasy to an extent. One of the most interesting themes I found was people comparing Tel Aviv to New York fucking City. The funniest instance of this when someone was telling me, quote, "Tel Aviv is known as the city that is awake 24 hours, unquote. I mean, how much more on the nose can we be? I don't need to drive this point home any further, but this comparison was at least a daily occurrence for me, and it came from literally everyone and anyone. There's so much more I can go on and on about, man. I got a full tour of Jerusalem, and that could be a whole email just as long as this. I'll give 2 tidbits. One is that as someone who was formerly quite involved with the Christian faith, it was very cool to see the place where these stories of the Bible were, and to see the true geography of the place when it is often made to be much more than it truly is. Secondly, the place was so heavily armed, I don't think I would ever go back. Constantly checking in and out of border control, and everywhere you went was owned by another country trying to shake some claim to the Holy Land. Look, man, I gotta wrap it up. My girlfriend already thinks I'm crazy for writing this shit up. It was an unreal experience, and as much as I hope to not ever have to go back, I'm grateful that this trip is part of my lived experience. The perspective of being somewhere that when I check into a hotel, they need to tell me about where their bomb shelter is was unique, to say the least. You say, P.S. I talk to my parents every day about the trip and heard a story for the first time. My parents talk... Am I supposed to read this? I'm going to roll the dice and say I'm supposed to read this. My parents talk about their trip to Monaco all the time, but what they've never talked about was that they stayed at a hotel where the Golden Boot Awards were being held at the time. The only notable soccer I've ever watched was the 2022 World Cup final, but I would still kill to be at an event like that. Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's super duper cool. Sort of a weird departure from the... I honestly think maybe in this one we could have done without the sports at the end, or maybe I should have just not read it. I didn't know that was going to happen. No, you're fine, brother. That's a really, really cool story. The rest of it, very, very nuanced perspective, I think, that was just delivered there. And I don't really even want to add to it. I don't want to say anything. I think that was honestly just, for me, it was just interesting to listen to. And that's all that, I guess that's all that I'm all going to, thanks for sending that in, dude. That was really, really interesting. What else do I got for you guys? Spotify. I think I asked you guys in the last episode what you want for Christmas. The fuck? I clearly had nothing. I was able to use it once and I burned it in the last episode. I can't ask you guys that again. We talk about going places. Is there a place you'd never go? I mean, this guy was put into, we do this whole email about a guy who was, put into this, I would have loved to have maybe gotten an email about the, and I don't know that I'll read it if you do send it in, brother. I'll read it personally. I just don't know that I'll read it on the show. I would be curious to know the conversation that you had with your girlfriend about having to go there, or even you talk about your parents and talking to them about the trip. Like who did you talk to about this? Like who was able to influence? Because like, I don't know, even if you were the most like pro, if you were a fucking Zionist, let's say you're Amy Schumer, I feel like going to Israel for a week is kind of like anything could happen. Anything could happen. Like shit could start popping off with Iran, like pretty much any minute. You know what I mean? So that is something that no matter where you are, you have to consider. And like, I know that if I was put in that position and no matter how much money I'm getting paid to work this job, if I had to go somewhere like that for a week, where there's even a 1% chance, there's a 1% chance that shit can happen like literally anywhere in the world. But you know what I mean? Whatever the percentage, whatever the pie chart says, Maddie would be like, fuck no. And then also the fact that it's Israel, she'd be like, fuck no, hell no. She'd say fuck no because she doesn't want me going somewhere where I could get, something could happen. The Iron Dome, the efficacy of the Iron Dome these days is like, I don't know what the numbers are. I know it's not 100%. I know it's not 100. And I know earlier this year, they were having some trouble with Iran and that Iron Dome. They were having like a little bit of trouble. What's going on with that with the United States? Trump said he wants us to have an Iron Dome. Isn't the Iron Dome ours anyways? Isn't that our technology? Didn't he say that he wants us to have one? I wonder how many countries have them just like for real in space. That exists, right? Surely that technology exists. Surely we have satellites that are capable of, I'm sure they do. Damn Space Force up there. Surely they do. A country that you'd never go to. Sure, I'm never going to go to damn Eritrea. I'm never, going to be afforded the opportunity. I'll never have the pleasure. No, I don't want to fucking go there. That doesn't count. Madagascar. No shit. Of course you're not going to Madagascar, What's a real country that I'm never going to go to? I don't think I could do New Zealand or Australia. I mean, I don't think I can do either. I don't think I can do either country. They're the bugs. I don't trust them. I don't trust the bugs. Because I feel like even if I'm in Sydney, no. What's Auckland like? I don't know. Bugs, probably. I don't think I can do the bugs. They would freak me the fuck out. If I can go somewhere where like there's probably not going to be that crazy of bugs, I would swing it. I would probably think about it. Another real answer, I don't know any of the one of the big 3 Asian countries. I don't think I could do it. I would have to be so well traveled before then. I just think the culture shock would freak me the hell out. I don't think I'd be able to handle it. There's the spectrum of guy. And on one end of the spectrum is like the Asian guy, he's not Asian. He's not an Asian guy, but he is that of an Asian guy. You know what I mean? And that's his whole fucking deal is anime and fucking Demon Hunters and shit like that. Gangnam Style and whatever the fuck. That guy, I'm the complete opposite. I've watched Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan was cool. Train to Busan was awesome. Steven Yeun. What's that guy's? How do you say his last name? The guy from The Walking Dead. Brilliant. Had a movie. What was the movie that he did where he's like he's an immigrant. He's a Korean immigrant. He and his wife moved to, I think it's like Arkansas. Oh, what's that movie called? It was really cute. I watched it on a plane. I don't remember what it's called. Maybe really emotional. It was such a cute movie too. He's really, really good in that. Also in Get Out. Not Get Out. Come on, bro. Nope. He was in Nope. The Jordan Peele hated that movie. I really don't care about that movie at all. Apparently, my Jordan Peele take is terrible, which is that I think Us is the best one. I mean, Get Out is actually the best one, but the one that I think is the most fun to rewatch is Us. I think that movie fucking rocks. Like perfect 10. I think that movie rocks. Place you'd never go. It's just too much culture shock. I think in China or Korea or Japan. And I'm just not chopsticks. I can't do them. I can't do chopsticks. And I don't want them to get mad at me because I'm a tourist. And you know what I mean? I hate that interaction so much. And that maybe is why we would have to rule out Spain too. I can't go to Madrid as a tourist. They throw rocks at you until you get back on the plane and you leave. They don't want you there. If you're not Spanish, they don't want you there. Even though I don't own an Airbnb there, but that's why they're mad, because nobody has a place to live, because everybody's buying apartments and turning them into fucking Airbnbs. So they get mad at all the tourists. I don't blame them. It makes complete sense, but I don't want to feed into that. I don't want to contribute. So I just want to go somewhere where I'm allowed to be a damn tourist. Lansing, Michigan. How about that? Go to Lansing, Michigan. Another country I'd never go to. Maddie said something the other day. I don't remember how this came up, but she said something to the effect of, she was like, oh, we were watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and Scott Disick like went to Canada and didn't tell Courtney. And Maddie was like, if you ever went to Canada and didn't tell me, I would assume you got kidnapped. And I was like, why the fuck would you say that? Like, why? And she was like, what are you talking about? She was like, you hate Canada. I was like, what? She was like, you would never just go to Canada. I was like, that's not true at all. I was like, I mean, you're right. I wouldn't just like go for no reason. But I was like, I would go. And she's like, no, you wouldn't. You hate Canada. I was like, what the fuck is this? I don't. I really don't. Like one day, sure. One day, sure. You know, I don't go to over, like, maybe go to over the Ambassador Bridge and like, that's kind of it. Go to like a Dunkin' Donuts or a Tim Hortons. I'll go to a Tim Hortons in like Ontario or something. And then be like, very cool. And then go home. And then maybe just that. But I don't hate Canada. That's crazy. Apple Podcasts. What's up? What's up? If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.